Tong has just woken up and receives a call. She's informed that the company she works for has just been bought, and today they'll meet the new boss. When she arrives at work, she sees the new CEO getting out of his car and is stunned to discover that the boss is Youngchin, her ex-boyfriend. Tong puts on sunglasses to go unnoticed, but later in the office, when she hands over some work papers, Youngchin greets her by name, showing that he clearly knows it's her. He approaches Tong, but only speaks to her respectfully and treats her like just another employee. He even reprimands her upon noticing errors in the report she submitted, so Youngchin and his assistant decide they will be evaluating her to see if she is capable of doing her job. In another scene, Tong gets into Youngchin's car, and he starts questioning her, asking about work supposedly to evaluate her. However, after a few questions, he deviates from the topic and begins asking about her romantic past. He asks why she left him in the past, and Tong becomes very angry, telling him that it's clear he hasn't changed and that his attitude is still the same. She calls him selfish and, very upset, gets out of the car. That night, while Tong is walking home, she is almost hit by a motorcycle, but luckily, Youngchin appears at the exact moment and is able to save her. Tong thanks him, but Youngchin gets romantic and tries to woo her. Tong gets upset and tells him not to come near her again. The next day at work, Youngchin asks Tong for a favor, to drive him to the airport. When they arrive, he asks for one more favor, to keep his car and take care of it while he's away. Tong agrees, promising that his car will be safe. At home, Tong is with her friend, and while they're chatting, she tells her about her day at work and how she ended up with Youngchin's car. Her friend suggests that Youngchin probably has feelings for her since he trusts her enough to leave his car with her, but Tong is confused because she doesn't feel the same. Back at work, Tong's friend was doing a live stream promoting the company's products and used Tong as a model to showcase them. During the live stream, an anonymous user made a large donation that left them both impressed and was asking for Tong's Instagram. She stepped off camera, feeling very nervous, but her friend convinced her to share her Instagram account. Later that same day, but at another time, Tong is assigned a very heavy workload, so she ends up staying at the company late into the night to finish it. While she's in the office, she receives a message from the guy from the live stream who had donated. The boy was being very flirtatious, trying to win her over, but Tong, on the other hand, was very dismissive and even told the boy that she was married. The surprise was that behind that anonymous account was Youngchin, trying to gather information from Tong. The next morning, Tong goes to pick up Youngchin from his trip. He greets her happily and even brings her a dessert he had made himself. Later at work, Youngchin gets close to Tong, being kind and helping her with her tasks. Later that night, we see Tong at home, ready to sleep, but just then she receives a message from the secret boy, and they start chatting. The boy tells her that he doesn't care if she's married, that he's willing to share, and even suggests they could talk in code so that Tong's husband won't notice. Tong gets very upset but at the same time feels intrigued because the mysterious boy is very interesting. The surprise for Tong is that the mysterious boy knew things about her work, so he helps her by providing information that makes her job easier, which makes her very happy and grateful, so now she enjoys talking to the secret boy more. Another day at work, news spreads that the boss had an accident and is in the hospital. Tong, upon hearing this, doesn't hesitate and rushes out to see Youngchin, but she's surprised to be greeted by a beautiful girl named Lin, who claims to be Youngchin's fiancée. Tong is left speechless and heartbroken. She says goodbye to the girl and decides to leave to avoid seeing Youngchin again. As she walks home, feeling a bit disoriented, she starts to feel dizzy and suddenly collapses weakly onto a bench, her vision blurring. Just then, Youngchin arrives, though she thinks it's just a dream. At that moment, a flashback comes to her mind. She remembers the day she confessed her love to Youngchin and asked him to be her boyfriend, pushed by her friends who pressured her into it. But she also recalls the sadness she felt when she learned that Youngchin was going abroad to study. He hadn't told her anything about it, so she felt betrayed and, very sad, decided to end the relationship. Back in the present, and now in the morning, Tong wakes up with her friend by her side, taking care of her. Her friend tells her that it was a co-worker who brought her home, which leaves Tong very sad, as it wasn't Youngchin who saved her. In the hospital, we see Youngchin and Lin. Youngchin is very angry and is scolding Lin, as she is actually just an assistant and not Youngchin's fiancée. He is very upset because Lin made Tong leave. Once at work, Lin runs into Tong and, for some strange reason, gives her a pair of beautiful earrings, which leaves Tong quite confused. News arrives at the office that the company's purchase by Youngchin is now official, which makes Tong very sad because she doesn't want to feel uncomfortable every day seeing Youngchin with his fiancée, so she decides to quit. That same night, she gets very drunk with her friend, and while Tong is lamenting her misfortune, she starts to see Youngchin in a very blurry way. To see if he's real or not, she touches his face, realizing that this time it's not a dream. Youngchin carries her in his arms to take her home safely, but halfway there, Tong asks him to put her down, claiming that she's not drunk and can walk in a straight line, though it's clearly not true. This brings a memory to Youngchin's mind, as it was the same in the past and stirs up his emotions. Finally, he decides to carry her home. On the way, Tong asks to be together again and to try once more. Youngchin says nothing. He also has feelings for Tong but doesn't want to express them. Instead, Youngchin asks Tong not to quit her job and to return to the company. But Tong gets upset, hands him the earrings that Lin had given her, gets out of the car, and leaves. This action deeply impresses Youngchin, knowing what Lin had done. The next day at work, Tong is welcomed by all her colleagues, and the women start gossiping about Youngchin's supposed romance with Lin. This angers Youngchin, who denies everything and asks them not to make things up. Lin tries to manipulate the situation to avoid looking bad in front of everyone, but Youngchin scolds her, which makes Tong happy as she now knows that the romance was fake. Now we see her more cheerful at work, though still sad because she can't be with Youngchin. During work, Youngchin left advice for Tong to help her improve her performance, and she gradually started learning and getting better. She was very grateful to Youngchin, so she decided to invite him out. On their way, they ran into her friend and a co-worker, so the four of them decided to go to the apartment and have a good time together. Tong wasn't enjoying herself because she wanted to be alone with Youngchin. At the end of the night, everyone was very drunk, and Youngchin asked Tong to take him home. When they arrived, Youngchin tried to steal a kiss, but Tong didn't allow it. A few hours later, when he had sobered up, Youngchin began flirting with Tong. This makes Tong nervous, and she suggests starting as friends, but Youngchin refuses and asks if she wants to be his girlfriend. She replies that she doesn't know. At work, Youngchin returns the earrings to Lin and puts her in her place, telling her that he has no feelings for her. Another day at work, one of Tong's colleagues invites her to his office supposedly to discuss an important work matter. But when Tong arrives, the guy approaches her in a very flirtatious manner, making her uncomfortable. Fortunately, Youngchin shows up and protects her, confronting the other guy. Tong is very scared and feels dirty, as if she had done something wrong. To make matters worse, someone took a photo of the incident, and now it's all over social media. People are talking about it and accusing her of things she didn't do. Youngchin arranges a meeting with all the partners to report the harasser's actions, but the partners reject Youngchin's evidence, which makes him very angry. Tong, with her friend, gathers the courage and strength to do a live stream and publicly denounce the harasser's actions. Tong leaves feeling very unsettled by everything that just happened, and in her distraction, she almost gets hit by a car. But fortunately, Youngchin, her hero, appears. They both go to Tong's house, but the harasser had arranged to cut the electricity. So, to protect her, Youngchin tells her to come to his house, and she agrees. Once at Youngchin's home, he begins to flirt with her, but Tong is still scared, so she stops him. The next day, we see on the news that the stalker had finally been jailed, which made Tong feel more at ease, but not Lin, who tried to use the situation to get Tong fired due to the media scandal she had caused. But, of course, Youngchin wasn't going to allow that. Still, Tong felt bad and again wanted to quit, but her friend advised her not to, as it would separate her from Youngchin once more. This made Tong think, and she finally gathered the courage to confront Lin, telling her to leave her alone and that she wouldn't ruin her relationship with her boyfriend, Youngchin. This impressed Lin, and at the same time, Youngchin arrived, confirming that they were a couple, leaving Lin embarrassed. Back home, Tong was watching a live stream from her friend and remembered her secret friend, so she decided to send a message thanking him for everything. At the same time she sent the message, Youngchin's phone rang. Tong finally realized that Youngchin was her secret friend. Tong calls Youngchin by the secret boy's username, which leaves Youngchin speechless. She teases him to give him a lesson, and then they return to being romantic. Finally, Tong explains why she had left him in the past. She thought he would abandon her without any explanation to go abroad, but he tells her that he wouldn't. At that moment, Youngchin receives a call from his mother and tells her that he is with his girlfriend, future wife, leaving Tong very happy and smiling. And that's the end of this drama.